he will be almost like a hero. And you're going to hear about how he plans to profit from being a cop killer. How he plans to profit from that. How he plans to sell items on the internet. From the notoriety he's gained and having killed a police officer. Whereas every day I'd be sorry about it. You will see that not a single day has he been sorry about it. What that mindset tells you, when you also take into account the kind of person he's shown he can be in getting people to let down their guard around him, you will see that not only is he someone who is probably going to commit future acts of violence, but I think you will be convinced that given the opportunity, he absolutely will. He absolutely will. When we start talking about mitigation, if Xanax is all we have, you will see that's not nearly enough. Not only is there no mitigation, it certainly would not be sufficient mitigation. I look over at you, a jury made up primarily of women. And sometimes in this society we think that women are so weak. We do, that's kind of how in society we think, oh, your heart is going to bleed for everybody who comes in front of you. Because you're used to having babies and raising children and taking care of everything that you're going to want to reach over and take care of the things. But society is changing. We now send women out to fight wars because we realize women are as strong as men. And that's what we're going to ask for you to do in this case. That everybody be strong. Wait to hear the evidence. Don't just look at the defendant in this case. Remember what he's taken away from our community. Officer Jaime Padron was a positive member about him. He was doing something he loved doing. He was not only a police officer, so when the defendant says over and over, I killed a cop, I killed a cop, take that part out and have him say, I killed a father, I killed a brother. I killed somebody who was valued not just in the Austin community, not just in the San Angelo community, but in the community of his family also. So think about what's being taken away and what this person will do if you give him another chance. And when you weigh that, there will be only one verdict in this case.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. When you're a defense lawyer and you have a case like this, you sit and you wait because you know the first part of that trial is all about what your client did, all about the circumstances of why he's charged with what he's charged with. And especially in a crime where somebody has lost their life, it's a difficult thing to sit there and listen to when you know another side of your client, when you know his life story. This is the time that we can tell you about him. We can tell you about his whole life and everything that happened and how we got to where we are. How does a man who grows up extremely bright, obviously intelligent, goes on to college, works at the USDA, does this project that's so incredible that it helps farmers plant their crops efficiently, not just here, but around the world. Then he goes on to a bright professional future at HP, where he's not like, or unlike any of the other techies that we have moved to Austin to work at HP, Dell, and Google, and all these places that our city is known for. He's not unlike a lot of those folks. So how do we get to that person who had held such promise at one time in his life to where we are for this tragic event? If you saw a little bit in the innocence part of the trial about his addiction, and some of that was obviously meant to explain his conduct that night, especially with regard to the statement and his right to the police car, so that you could see his state of mind. Now, it is true that the law doesn't allow you to consider that when you're deliberating guilt or innocence, but you certainly can consider that when you're deciding whether someone is a future danger or whether there's a mitigating circumstance. You could certainly decide that that is a mitigating circumstance and that absent the introduction of drugs and alcohol that night, or drugs, Xanax, and you've heard the levels already, you could certainly decide that that's a mitigating factor. But you know what? Mr. Cobb, in a way, is right. What I mean by that is, if all we had was that one drug-addled night, then it would be a difficult case for you to spare his life. But we don't just have that. We have a boy who at the age of 9 began battling depression. We saw glimpses of that from his ex-girlfriend, Jenna, who came to testify. And I anticipate that she will come back and testify again if she's so brave enough after what Mr. Cobb tried to do to her. I'll anticipate that she'll elaborate more on that. Because she could only give you a little based on the confines of the evidence that we were confined to just in the guilty innocence. But she'll explain a little bit more of that. She'll go through some of the text messages that he sent her with regard to their breakup. And you'll see that he was broken up. And then you say, well, Brad, if he's just broken up and sad, people don't kill somebody because they're broken up and sad. You're right. You'll have to put that in the context of the rest of his life and all the things that he went to. The depression of mind, the experimentation of drugs and alcohol when he's less than in middle school. The suicide attempts that he had when he was 11. You're going to learn about those. The suicide attempts that he had as a child. The self-mutilation that began when he was between 9 and 11 years old. But what's worse about that, more than anything, is you will also hear the lack of parental acknowledgement of the problems that he had, or support. And in some ways, you say, well, the parents should have helped him. And I think you'll see that in the evidence. You'll say, well, why didn't they help him? When school counselors are telling them, give this boy some help. Get him some psychiatric help. Because he's depressed and he has an issue and he needs to deal with it. And you'll say, why didn't the parents help him? Well, you'll see that there's a resistance in their attitude because they don't believe in psychiatry or psychiatrists. They think they're quacks. And they ignore that. And maybe you think, well, gosh, how can a parent ignore that? But you also have to remember the other side of the picture that they were looking at. How can my kid have something wrong with him when he's so bright that he's skipping grade in school? How can my kid have a problem when he's the smartest kid in the class? We tend to confuse one with the other. But hey, just because you're smart and just because you're successful in academic life, that you somehow are mentally stable and mentally well. I mean, he was successful in academic life. You'll hear from one of his professors that worked with him at the guy who supervised him, and he'll tell you, in his academic life, in his professional life, Brandon was brilliant. His coding abilities were incredible. He even was published in a textbook. So it begs the question, how does the drug use fit in to the depression he suffered? So you'll hear from expert testimony. I'm not making this up or asking you to believe it just because I say it. You'll hear from expert testimony where they talk about how this drug use and prolonged drug use is really self-medication for his problem. That he never got the right care. That he's self-medicating his depression away. Mr. Cobb and Mr. Bishop are going to go to great lengths to show you a lot of things that Brandon did when he was decide that he's in future danger. You can't, when you look at the evidence that we're about to present you, say there is nothing, not one thing in his life that I find mitigating. Not one thing in his life that warrants sparing his life. Not one thing in Brandon Danner's entire life has value. I'm going to discount human beings because I don't find one thing redeeming or having value. At the end of the day, you're going to see through the evidence we show you that under the right medication, while he's been in jail, he's responded well. But he's even had a suicide attempt in jail. And he got help. Finally, under the right medication, he's been well. And he's been in a controlled environment. Sadly, that's helpful for him and a person like him. He finally got the help. Too late? Perhaps. But at least it's there. And spending the rest of your life in prison when you're 26 is real punishment. And you've already decided at the very least that's what's going to happen. For the rest of his life, he will not be a threat. Not to anyone in prison or anyone outside. And at the end of this trial, myself and Mr. Hunter are going to ask you to answer those questions in a way that you find that he does have value. That even though he committed this horrible act, there is a punishment that is sufficient under our law. That the legislature has said that's a sufficient punishment for capital murder. That is enough for Brandon Danner.
Dave, do you have witnesses present?
Yes, sir, officer. Oh, you know about witnesses?
To be sworn? Did they be sworn?
I think they've already been sworn.
All of them?
Okay, we do have some.
Okay.
But everybody else is been sworn.
Raise your right hand and face the camera.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony that you will now be obtaining before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
And United States Court Officer Corey Knox.
Corey Knox.
No, she's getting. Sir, would you state your name, please?
Officer Corey Knopp, CORYKNOP.
Officer Knopp, you testified earlier in this trial, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
I believe you were one of the officers who were involved in transporting the defendant from the Walmart down to the Austin Police Department,
Yes, sir, I was.
and then transferring him from your vehicle to the homicide unit, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were accompanied by Officer Revelon?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Officer Knopp, I want to talk to you about that day of April 6th, 2012. After you arrived there at the police station and you transported the suspect to go meet the homicide detective, do you recall having a conversation with him about what conversation did you have with him at that time?
We had a couple of different conversations when we were going up to the homicide office. He had mentioned to me I was holding his arm tight, and I told him, I didn't want you to fall. So he was like, well, thank you. I said, you're welcome. And then Detective Robinson, who you heard from last week, as she was opening the doors for us, she asked me, which case the defendant belonged to, because if you recall that day we had 2 officer-involved shootings, one in the evening and one in the morning. And I told her it was for Jaime Padron, and that was when the defendant stated, I killed a cop, just nonchalantly like that. And then once we went up to the homicide office, she had to sit outside the office for a moment while they set up the interview room. And the defendant looked at me and he asked me, do you remember me? And I said, yes, I do. He said, the next time I see you, I'll be 70 years old.
Now, when he asked you about remembering him, the jurors heard you talk during the field stage of the trial
Yes, sir.
about, in general, your recollection of having met him. At this stage, you get to tell him specifically about how it was that you had known him earlier.
Yes, sir.
Would you describe to the juror how it was that you had met him earlier?
I met him in the beginning of February I had arrested him for driving while intoxicated.
Was that actually on February 2nd,
Yes, sir.
going into February 3rd?
It was February 1st going into February 2nd. Yes, sir.
Was the first one in February?
Yes, sir.
Now, also, now, tell us about what time of day or night did that occur?
It was late in the evening. It was about 11 o'clock at night is when the call came out. Officer Rednauer had asked for a DWI unit to come and do the standard field sobriety test for him, and I responded to his scene.
Another Austin police officer stopped him on the DWI, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And where did that stop take place in?
It was a 300 block of West Powell.
What part of Austin is that in?
It's in the Edwards sector. It's the northeast sector, just north of 183, close to 35.
So the officer stopped him, and then why were you called to the scene?
He had asked for a DWI unit, because in APD we have a unit at night that does just DWIs. There was none available. I was rookie, so I piped up on the radio and said, I'll come and do the test for you.
Why couldn't Officer Ridenour do it himself?
He could, but I was a rookie, so it was kind of one of those things that, a rookie should step up to the plate and take those type of calls from senior officers.
And did you do that?
Yes, sir, I did.
And was that the DWI test that you performed and also your later transportation of the defendant to Travis County Book, or was that all recorded on video?
Yes, sir, it was.
Any other questions? Also, now we're going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 72 and ask if you recognize this.
Yes, sir, I do.
And is there a copy of the video made by you on April 1st leading into April 2nd concerning the DWI arrest and transportation of the defendant in this case?
Yes, sir.
You're going to read off State's Exhibit number 72.
No objection, Your Honor.
And also, just a couple of questions before we publish this. Do you recall what the defendant's general demeanor and attitude towards you was as you dealt with him with that DWI and also transporting him?
He was very polite and cordial, answering yes or no, sir, to questions.
And did y'all have a conversation about things you had in common at that time on that night?
Yes, sir, we did.
And what were the things you talked about?
That was when I discovered that he was from Colorado, and we discovered in our conversation we both graduated from Colorado State University, and that he had lived less than a mile from where I did in Colorado.
Do you recall, if you recall, and I know you do a lot of arrests and you have other DWIs done over the years, do you recall him talked to you about some confidential informant work he had done in Colorado.
I do not recall, sir, no.
But if he did, it's going to be reflected on the video.
That is correct, sir.
At any time when you were dealing with him on that day, did you feel that he presented any kind of danger to you?
No, sir.
You felt comfortable dealing with him, no kind of threats or anything?
No, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And he was always polite in his dealing with you, yes sir, no sir?
He was, yes, sir.
Was he also polite on the night that he had murdered Officer Hunter Padron?
Yes, sir, he was.
He never acted up or did anything threatening with you on that night? correct?
No, sir, he did not.
You want me to publish at this time?
You will.
Okay. Hear me out. So, Officer Knott, did you tell the jurors what's going to be going on here on this video?
Yes, sir. It'll first show myself responding to the scene and setting up for the field sobriety test, standardized field sobriety test. During the course of the video, you'll see me conducting the 3 stages of the field sobriety test, placing the defendant under arrest and transporting him to the jail.
During the field sobriety test themselves, there's not a lot of conversation going on if there other than you giving instructions on it.
Correct.
So we skip through some of that, go through it a little bit faster, then that the jury will this and all.
Yes, sir.
And Officer Knott, this is the view from your in-car video, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Hear me a bit louder?
See this car on the, he's going southbound along with me. He's kind of up a distance. The dude just makes a hard right.
Who are you talking to?
Like from...
This is Officer Rettenauer who stops.
To Powell. And then he just punches it. You can just see his car take off. I'm like, holy crap, man. So I thought maybe it was possibly a stolen car and he's just trying to get away from me to get on the Sam Rayburn ditch. He takes off. I see him, I turn on the Powell and I kind of lose him at the hill and I see him and he just like back and forth and all the way across the lane, like 2 feet across the middle, coming back almost up on the curves. And I finally catch up to him, he's going so fast, it took me all the way to the stop sign to catch up to that fool. As soon as I caught up to him at the stop sign, that's when I'm like, hey, 4-5 traffic. He just punches it, he just blows the stop sign. He didn't even stop. Coming up, like kind of slowing down barely, but it just punches it. And I'm like, he's trying to get away from me. So I light him up, and again, he goes off into the dirt area right here, takes off back over here, and all of a sudden he just slams on his brakes. I thought I was about to have a pursuit. Slams on his brakes and pulls off right here in the grass. I'm like, holy crap, man, what's up with this guy, you know? And he said he's coming from Fast Eddie's. He was over there earlier, took his lady friend home, realized he left his license, and he's going back to Fast Eddie's. He thinks he's on the route over there right now. He's from Colorado, so he's just a little lost, I think, along with intoxication. Asked how much he had to drink, said 3 shots and a couple beers. Smelled alcohol pretty bad, watery eyes. When I asked him for his license and the registration, he handed me the United Healthcare card and the registration. I was like, okay, you have a license. Like, well, I left at Fast Eddie. Anything with the photo ID, he starts handing me random business cards. Yeah. And then I hand him the United Healthcare back, and I'm like, what's this? He's like, oh, that's my registration. He's an Asian male, but he speaks totally perfectly fine English. Okay. Fat Eddie's, is that what you said? Fast Eddie's. Oh, Fast Eddie's. What is it? It's a pool hall. It's up at 45 and 35. Billiards place, also a bar. I'll be doing a sub too about that. I wasn't trying to get you on. I was trying to get a DWI. I don't want you to feel like you had to come snatch it. No, it's alright. Might as well. Alright, man. His name's Brandon. His last name's Daniel. I don't remember. Brandon Daniel. Okay. 24. Let me pass him around and stick them in the back of my car and I'll take them up there. Yeah, that parking lot. Actually, if you want to transform for me, I'm going to get set up. We'll find a spot. Walking down there. Okay. All right, I'm going to find a spot.
Now, the video's gonna play. Would you tell us while the video plays, Officer Knott, what are you getting ready to do here?
As I'm turning around, I know there's a open parking lot area just right around the corner from where we are at, and I'm setting up my vehicle to conduct a standardized field sobriety test.
And just tell the jurors what they're gonna see happening on the standardized field sobriety test.
On the test, I'll do just an initial interview, ask him questions like where he's coming from, if he's consuming any kind of alcoholic beverages, if he has any medical issues or physical conditions I need to know about, things along that nature. And then we'll go through the 3 battery of tests. It's the horizontal gaze nystagmus is the first one. That's where I'm looking at his eyes. And then the second one is called a walk and turn test. And the third one is called a one-leg stand test.
And all those tests will be determined if he was intoxicated while operating one vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Ultimately, at the end of these tests, what determination did you make based on your training experience?
I made a determination that he wasn't too intoxicated to drive.
That he was or was not?
He was, sir. He was above 108.
What's your name, man? Brandon. All right, man. Stand right near the end of the line. Just face me. All right, ready? Put your feet together. Give them close touching. All right, let's ask a few questions first, all right? Yes, sir. So, where did you say you're coming from?
I'm coming from Fast Betty.
Fast Betty?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how many drinks you had tonight?
I had 2 shots and 2 beers, sir.
2 shots of beers? What kind of shots did you have?
2 Jack Daniels.
That Jack Daniels? All right. And what kind of beers did you have?
Dos Equis.
Dos Equis?
Yes, sir.
Just the bottles or cans?
Just the bottles.
All right. Have you had any recent head injuries?
No, sir.
Nothing. Can you see clearly out of both your eyes?
Yes, sir.
Do you wear contacts or glasses normally?
No, sir.
Do you have any physical or medical problems I should know about?
No, sir.
Anything physically wrong with you?
No, sir.
Do you take any kind of medication?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to test, make sure that you're okay to drive, all right?
Sir.
Have you done these before, the field sobriety test?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. I was seriously test, okay? First we'll check your eyes and do a walk and turn test and a one-line stand test, okay? All right. So what you need to do, like you're already standing, just go ahead and keep your feet together just like they are. Like your toes touching just like mine. Hands touch your side, okay? And don't move, okay?
And Officer Knott, as the video plays through, you're now going to perform those field sobriety tests that you described for the jurors.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to skip ahead to the point where you're placing them under arrest. This will be available to the jurors to look at if they want to hear all of that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll push your hands on your back. Brandon, you're going to be arrested for DWI. Colorado, DWI. Good. keep on running. Do you have any sharp metal objects on you? Weapons, drugs, anything like that? What kind of oil drum? No way. Oh, good. Did you graduate? What year? I graduated from there at Sunset. Not lying. Colorado University. What did you read? Yeah, I am. Went to high school and college there. Do you mind running that for me, too? What brings you down to Austin? I moved here for a job. Good job? What job? I work for a factory after I graduated. Still work for? Yes, sir. I didn't mean to be here for very long. Is that the key to your car, or that's to my motorcycle?
Officer, what were you counting there?
The money he had in his pocket.
Do you recall how much cash it was he had in his pocket?
It was $340.
It was all in 20s?
The way I was counting, yes, sir.
Did you also find on this person a receipt for the restaurant you claimed that just left?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Fast Eddie's, correct?
Yes, sir.
How much is that receipt showing you paid at Fast Eddie's?
$96.
So he had a receipt in his pocket, $96 from Fast Eddie's, and he also had $340 cash in his pocket, correct?
Correct, sir.
Office under section 106.041, alcoholic beverage code. You'll be asked to give a specimen of your breath and your blood, or your blood, excuse me. The specimen will be analyzed to determine alcohol concentration or the presence of a controlled substance, drug, dangerous drug, or other substance in your body. If you refuse to give a specimen, that refusal may be admissible in a subsequent prosecution. Your license, permit, or privilege to operate a motor vehicle will be suspended or denied for not less than 180 days, whether or not you are subsequently prosecuted for this offense. If you refuse to submit to the taking of a specimen, the officer may apply for a warrant authorizing a specimen to be taken from you. If you are 21 years of age or older and submit to the taking of a specimen and an analysis of the specimen shows that you have an alcohol concentration of 0.08 or more, your license, permit, or privilege to operate a motor vehicle will be suspended or denied for not less than 90 days, whether or not you are subsequently prosecuted for this offense. If you are younger than 21 years of age and have any detectable amount of alcohol in your system, your license, permit, or privilege to operate a motor vehicle will be suspended or denied for not less than 60 days. However, if you submit to the taking of a specimen and an analysis of the specimen shows that you have an alcohol concentration of less than 0.08, you may be subject to criminal penalties less severe than those provided under Chapter 49 of the Penal Code. If you are operating a motor vehicle and you refuse to give the specimen or provide a specimen that shows you have an alcohol concentration of 0.08 or more, you may be disqualified from driving a commercial motor vehicle for a period not less than 1 year. You may request a hearing on suspension or denial. This request must be received by the Texas Department of Public Safety at its headquarters in Austin, Texas, no later than 15 days after you receive or are presumed to have received notice of suspension or denial. This request, the request can be made by written demand, fax, or other form prescribed by our department. I certify that I have informed you both orally and in writing of the consequences of refusing to submit to the taking of a specimen or providing a specimen. I have provided you with a complete and true copy of the statutory warning. I'm now requesting for a specimen of your breath.
Will I be able to send an email to my work?
You'll be able to call once you get down to jail.
Well, no one's there. I can send an email.
You can ask the jailers if they allow you to do that. Usually they don't allow anyone to send messages with their phone when you're down there. So, but first, will you provide your breath specimen or no?
No, unless I can send an email. So I'm willing to cooperate in all alternatives.
You don't have a voicemail or anything like that?
I want to cooperate. I'm a professional. I'm a software engineer at HP, and I want to cooperate in all terms. I don't want to. I worked really hard to get this job. I graduated in 2010. I just got this job.
Right.
I want to. I'll send an email.
Well, so that you can ask the jailers once you get down there. So it's gonna be up to them.
Okay.
So we give a specimen your breath or no?
No.
Tonight? Okay.
Make sure you put this in the report. This is a receipt from Fast Eddie's, and they like it if you put that as an actual entity, an institution, and just add them in there. You just put involved, and just document his tabs, almost $100. And for sure, man, I'll do a stuff about everything I saw, and the initial stop, my observations.
So what block of it you initially saw on that? Just for the faster stuff.
8100 block of North Frontage.
Yeah,
So it's just north of Al, maybe like 670 yards, 8200 block.
and you were on the frontage, right, when you first
I
saw it?
was back there. I wasn't even paying attention to the car until he just, and I was like, holy fuck. So I tried to catch up to him about 600 block of Al. I saw him kind of weaving off, going across both lanes, off in the middle. Yeah, west. 600 block of west. No, you said Al. I just want to make sure. So yeah, 600 block over there, and finally catch up to him with the stop sign. But he's still approaching it, and you can tell he kind of looks because the car jerks a little bit, and then he just pours it. When I'm right,
That's at Georgia's power, right?
At Georgia's power stop sign. Really right to the stop sign. And then as soon as he passes the intersection, like right past that little place right there, the bars, he kind of dips it off into the gravel. It's kind of like a little cutout. He drives off the road into the gravel, about 2 feet into the gravel, and then kind of floors it again. And that's where I was like, yeah, he's trying to get away from me. I lit him up, and after about 3 seconds, he just slammed on his brakes and jerked off to the side of the road. Lucky to be alive. Alright. Appreciate it. Put your flashlight in the tree.
I'll do the, so she be on the south side, you're gonna take them to Oklahoma.
Cool. Thank you. Teamwork, Chris. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
His cell phone's on the seat, you might want to take that to him, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't forget that. My wallet too. See if he wants his wallet too.
In the bag?
Handle Captain Morgan?
Not open yet, yeah.
No.
Captain Morgan, full bottle of Diet Coke. But it's not open.
So I'm assuming you want your cell phone in wallet? Huh?
Look at the house key. The only thing on there, I'll just keep the car key.
Okay. So this is your house key? Which one?
That is the mailbox.
Do you have house keys?
I do, it's attached to my car key. This was on a key that was attached here. Car key.
And that would be attached.
Okay. Cool. So make sure. So all the only thing that's being left behind is your car key for that car. Alright? Because you have your motorcycle key in your pocket. Yes, sir.
I covered that in the two separate incidents. You guys have a separate informant?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool. In Texas or Colorado?
Colorado.
Awesome. So you've been, really polite and cooperative, so, I would definitely annotate that. Where do you live here in Austin?
3401. That's Apartment Lane.
The house or apartment?
Apartment 2622. District 78727.
And what's the phone number for you?
512
Okay.
660
All right.
9359.
About how tall are you? 5'8"? You still about 175?
Nelson, not at this point, do you give any information to your computer?
Yes, sir.
What was it that he said to you about some work in Colorado?
He said he had worked as an informant a couple different times in Colorado.
Working for the police.
Yes, sir.
Did you ask him anything about that?
No, sir.
What kind of car are yours? A Fit? The 4-door?
It was Frank. It was different.
I'm sorry? Fortunately, we have to.
New message.
As this plays on, what was he asking you at that point?
He was asking me to not impound his vehicle.
It'd be much appreciated if you could keep it out of uniform.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
It's going to be dependent on,
So your question only on equipment 1411.
so say it's technically you're required to see a judge within 24 hours. So it depends on how fast you meet them and if they think you're okay to drive home or get a ride home, I guess.
New
And
message.
it's really going to be up to them. I'm sorry? I don't see how that doesn't really play into effect now, though. With this.
New waiting incident.
See, again, tell me about helping out in Colorado.
Yes, sir. He was asking if there's anything he can do in this situation.
I'm sorry?
New message.
I mean, you can talk to the judge, right? It'll be all up to him or her. I can't hear you. What? Right. I'm sorry? We had, in Travis County, we had judges on 24/7. So, hopefully. It really just depends on how busy it is down at the jail. With what? Huh? No? Huh? I had never said you were a bad guy, Brian.
Can you make out what he's saying here? Is that come up?
Yes, sir.
What is it that he's saying?
He was asking me if there's anything I can do to help him with the charges. He was saying he just moved down here. He's something along the lines of being a productive member of society, and that he's a good guy. He's not a bad guy.
He's asking you to assist him in something, describing himself as being a productive member of society, saying that he's not a bad guy.
Yes, sir.
This is him starting this conversation with you?
Yes, sir.
And how do you respond to that?
I told him I can't help him, and I never told him that he was a bad guy.
DWI, there was no discretion on that. Yeah, if it was just a simple traffic ticket or something like that, then we can have discretion on, but not with these kind of offices.
Current new message. Your incident has been updated.
Yes, ma'am.
Nelson, where are you at this point?
We're currently inside the Sally Port of Travis County Jail.
That should be the same building, correct?
That is correct, sir.
It's where you go to book prisoners?
Yes, sir.
Huh? I'm sorry, man. There's nothing I can do.
This is Edward Gregory, and I hang up Austin Street. Okay, I'll turn now.
I'm sorry? Right? Yep. I don't arrest people who don't deserve to be arrested. Or those who don't commit a crime, so.
New waiting incident.
So now, can you make out what he's saying to you at that point?
Yes, sir.
What was it that he was saying to you?
He was asking me if I thought it was right for, he just wanted to know if it was right referring to making the arrest. I told him I don't just pick people off the street and arrest them for no reason. So I only arrest those who commit crimes.
And that second part, where he's asking about taking into account consideration of the whole person,
Yes, sir.
do you think that's kind of unusual, someone to be asking you that?
Yes, sir.
New waiting incident.
Sorry?
How long have you been in
4 months. After a year in the academy.
King Henry Zebra 348 is red, Deckard, and Farmer. Yeah, 75, 75, 75. That's fine. Just making sure you're clear on those previous disturbance to the same apartment, or remember about an hour ago. Simple. Go ahead.
Change your call to 648, please.
Simple.
What state were you born in, Brandon? Kansas?
Your incident has been updated.
Are you both on the line? That's fine.
Huh?
Feel bad.
Feel bad?
That last thing he asked you was if you ever feel bad.
Yes, sir.
Before that, you recall him asking you if you feel like you've ever done the wrong thing?
Yes, sir.
You feel like he was talking about this arrest and everything?
Yes, sir.
And that the video is you take him into Burton, is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And you never did anything for him, did you?
No, sir. I did not.
Are you pleased to you do something for him?
Correct, sir.
And we'll pass it back.
Good morning, Officer Knott.
More, sir.
Officer Knott, do you still work the night shift?
No, sir. I do not.
Oh, okay. No, I was afraid you were here after work on shift.
No, sir.
Okay. So, let me ask you a couple of questions. I'll try to be brief. With regard to when you made contact with Mr. Daniel, you noted right away that he smelled a strong odor of alcohol. Is that not right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think you testified earlier in the trial that you do have some experience with people, you know, the differences between people being impaired by some substance and other people being impaired by alcohol. You saw that?
I have a little bit of experience with that. Yes, sir.
And then in this particular case, at least, it was clear to you that he was intoxicated by means of alcohol, correct?
Correct, sir.
In the field sobriety test that you performed on Mr. Daniel, we learned
Yes, sir.
And to be fair, every officer is part of the required training academy, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
And routinely you get updated training on that and such.
Yes, sir.
And if you remember from your training, the training you received with regard to the administration of the standardized field sobriety test, those tests are designed to determine the impairment through alcohol in the system, right?
Yes, sir.
That's why you said earlier, I think in response to Mr. Cobb's question, that it appeared to me that a PC was above 0.08, correct?
Correct, sir.
So in other words, the tests that you administer to him are made to determine the presence of alcohol in the body above the limit of 0.08, correct?
That along with, they're mainly meant to determine the loss of mental and physical faculties, so the loss of use of that. So that can be either with alcohol, or it can also detect if they're also on some kind of drugs.
Okay. And if they're on some sort of drug, anytime if you have one available, you'll ask for a drug recognition expert to come and look at it. They have additional tests or criteria that you can look for, correct?
Yes, sir.
But that wasn't the case in this case.
That was not the case, no, sir.
So, in fact, he admitted to you that he had been drinking alcohol at fast days, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And that indeed was verified by the receipt he had in his pocket for about $96, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't make a log, or did you keep a copy of that receipt at all? Do you remember?
In my supplement to my original report, I submitted it as evidence.
Oh, okay. So you indicated that he was, he smelled of alcohol, and he had glassy, watery eyes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, also though, when you fill out a probable cause affidavit in this case, you also make a determination, you have there's areas where you can make certain notations with regard to his speech and such, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in fact, you indicated that his speech was fair, is that right?
That's correct, sir.
You also indicated, let me ask you this, when he went out, and I think we saw on the video, kind of sped through all that part of it, but we saw in the video that he walked without any kind of assistance to the point where you were doing the field sobriety test. In other words, you originally made contact with him. I guess there was a road, there was a dirt road or something. It was like an all road with a shoulder that was dirt. And you moved him then to a parking lot with some parking space lines, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's common practice, especially when you have a road that's uneven like that. That's not an appropriate place to administer field sobriety test, correct?
That's correct, sir. It's not fair.
So you moved him to a spot where it was flat, and you could essentially administer those tests safely and in compliance with your training on how and places where they should be administered, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So when he went out in front of the patrol car, we can see from the video, he doesn't need assistance in walking or anything like that, right?
Correct, sir.
In fact, at no point when you were administering, and again, we didn't get to see that, but again, at no point in the administering of the field sobriety test did he ever need assistance in standing or anything like that, correct?
I mean, he stumbled, but no, I did not have to reach over and pick him up or anything.
Sometimes, when you're administering field sobriety tests, have you ever had occasion where somebody's attempting to do a field sobriety test and they stumble and you just say, okay, I'm going to stop the test for your safety because you're afraid that they might fall and hurt themselves?
I've only seen that one time, sir.
Yeah, but you know that's a pretty common thing sometimes to happen.
From my experience, no, but I know it does happen, yes, sir.
Sure, okay. And in fact, it's clear that a person is so intoxicated they can't perform it, and you might stop. You're instructed to stop the test for the safety of the suspect.
That is correct, sir.
And in this case, he was able to get through the test enough to determine whether he was impaired at least above 0.08 in your opinion. And then after he did that, you had him walk again without assistance to the front of your patrol car, correct?
Correct, sir.
And then that's when you placed him, correct?
Yes, sir.
So with regard to Is it fair to say that folks act and respond differently to being arrested for DWI?
Again, compared to what, sir?
Well, and again, at that time you were an officer for 4 months, correct?
Right about there, yes, sir.
And now you've been an officer now about 2.5 years, somewhere around there?
Yes, sir.
Not counting the year, just speaking about the county.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, in that time, how many people have you arrested, do you think, for DWI?
Probably about 25.
So, not every person that you arrest for DWI responds the same upon learning they're going to be arrested for DWI, correct?
Correct.
Some people cry, some people get angry, right?
That is correct, sir.
And some people are belligerent the entire way to the station.
Yes, sir.
And some people, you ever had anybody resist?
I had one that was close, but no.
Okay. So, there are also times where you have been giving somebody a ticket and they're begging you not to give them a ticket, correct?
Correct, sir.
There's times where you're arresting somebody and they're begging you not to arrest them, correct?
Yes, sir.
And many times you hear the word, "Why are you doing this? I'm a good person," or something to that effect, correct?
Correct, sir.
That's part of your job, right?
Yes, sir.
At least at the time that Mr. Daniel was telling you, "Why are you doing this?" you didn't think anything of it, right?
Correct.
That's just another person trying to get out of this situation,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
So at that time, those words didn't have any meaning to you.
Not when he asked me that specific question, no, sir.
And I guess you didn't find that necessarily out of the ordinary.
Just the continuation of the questions was out of the ordinary, but not just the initial wanting to get out of it, no, sir.
Sometimes you get people who have two different attitudes with you. You get somebody that might be crying while you're writing a ticket, and then once you decide to give them the ticket, regardless of their crimes, they start cussing at you.
That is correct, sir.
So, the night that he was transported for Mr. Jaime Padron's murder, the night that he was transported by yourself and Officer Reveille, you didn't smell any alcohol on that, right?
No, sir, not that I recall.
But you did say earlier in your testimony that he was clearly under the influence of some sort of depressant.
I said it appeared to me that, yes, sir, he was under some kind of depressant, yes, sir.
And in fact, at that time, he needed assistance walking to remove those steps, correct?
I don't recall. We weren't going to give him that opportunity to walk by himself, given the situation. So he was always under our care.
Thank you, Officer.
He described himself to you as being a productive member of society, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
His tactic with you was to try to negotiate his way out of that DWI.
Yes, sir.
And try to tell you about work he had done with the police in Colorado on 2 occasions.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
He thought that that would have some influence on you taking him in, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Ms. Duffy was further on.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Yes, sir.
You make this witness be excused.
Any objection?
No objection.
Make him remain in court if he desires.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Next witness.
Statement called void of record, Your Honor.
will you state your name and spell it for the court reporter, please?
My name is Roy Don Rector. I'm a detective with the Austin Police Department.
How long have you been with the Austin Police Department?
I'm in my 23rd year with the Austin Police Department. I have 27 years total experience.
And what is your current role within the Austin Police Department?
My current assignment is in the Digital Forensic Lab, where I've been assigned for the last 13 years. I'm a certified forensic examiner. My responsibility is the examination and security of the digital crime scene, any media that might contain digital evidence.
And can you explain in layman's terms what that means?
Yeah, I have two computer forensic certifications. One is a CFCE, that's a Certified Forensic Computer Examiner. The other is an ENCE, that's an in-case Certified Examiner. Our responsibility is to make sure that we apply standard methodologies in the preservation of digital evidence, and then standard practices in the production and analysis of that evidence. So that's what I mean by our job is the security and presentation of digital evidence.
And if, for instance, a computer is seized by the Austin Police Department and you're asked to analyze that computer, what do you have at your disposal to do that, and what do you do in that analysis?
Yeah, the process would be after it's been seized, it would be to be delivered to the Digital Forensic Lab. We then remove the hard drive or the media that's associated with that device, and we conduct what's called a forensic acquisition, in that we create a true and accurate copy of that media. Once we have the copy made, then we'll put the original media away, put it back into evidence, and we will do our examination on the media. The unique thing about digital evidence is it's the only evidence that you can actually analyze without destroying a sample of the evidence. For example, ballistics, you destroy some of the evidence. When you test cocaine, you destroy some of the evidence. Digital evidence, once we get a forensic image, that can be analyzed over and over again without any changes or any contamination or alteration of the evidence. So that's what we do in the lab. We make sure that we follow those standard practices and procedures in order to present and authenticate the evidence.
And in this particular case, was a computer delivered to your lab under Austin Police Department number 2012-970-169?
Yes, it was. 2 computers were delivered.
And did you have anything to do with the seizure of those items?
Say that again?
Did you have anything to do with the seizure of the computers themselves?
I did not.
So once they were taken, they were brought to you?
That's correct. Once they were seized and properly entered into our system, then we have someone from our lab will go to evidence control and pick them up. In this case, Detective Riley, who works in my lab, was the one who retrieved the computers from evidence control.
And did you do the process you described earlier of making the image of the hard drive and analyzing that hard drive?
That's correct. I did all the examination.
I approach the witness. Sir, I'm showing you what have been marked as State's Exhibit 73, 74, 75, and 76. Discussing the contents of those, do you recognize those?
Yes, I do.
And do they fairly and accurately depict how they appeared when you first saw them?
Yes, they are.
At this time, the state would move to State's Exhibit 73, 74, 75, and 76. Good location, right?
So good.
Permission to publish, yeah?
You may.
And sir, over your right shoulder is State's Exhibit 3. Can you describe for us what State's Exhibit 73 is?
It's an arm, right hand, with hanging onto a pistol and a tattoo on the forearm.
And where was that photograph recovered?
I'll need to see which one it is to It was recovered from the laptop received in the computer. The file name is 054.jpg. And 054.jpg was recovered from the laptop in a logical path of users, Daniel, BRA, documents, my backup, Jenna backup, pictures. And the last folder is a date that says 2009-3-25. So this file resides in that folder.
You indicated that's a logical path. What does that mean?
That's where it's stored on the Windows computer system. It's what we call the logical path in which it resides. So it's basically it's stored in the My Documents folder. That's where, if you were looking at Windows, that's where you would find it in the My Documents folder under My Backup.
And that date you indicated?
Yeah, the creation date on this file was May 26, 2011. That is the date it was copied to a computer. The actual date that it was taken is what we call XF data. That's data that's metadata that's embedded within the picture itself. It was taken by a Nikon Coolpix L16 camera on 3/26/09 at 3:49, provided that the digital camera's system clock was accurate.
Admitted at Safety Exhibit 74. Can you describe for us where that was located?
Okay, this is a file that's named 055.jpg. It resides in the same logical path as the file we had previously. This one was created by the same camera on the same date, 3/29/09, at 3:49:50. So about 30 seconds later, this picture was taken with that same camera.
State Exhibit 75. Can you describe for us where that was located within the computer?
Okay, this is a file name. This is DSCN0025.jpg. And it also resides in the same logical path in users, Daniel, BRA, documents, my backup, Jenna backup, pictures. And this is under the last folder in that logical path is 2009-5-18. It was taken with the same camera, and according to the XF metadata that's embedded in the picture, it was taken on May the 30th in 2009, about 11:36 a.m.
And sir, if you could show us what you see in that photograph.
It looks to me like, of course, the same gun, and it looks to me like the same arm, according to the tattoo scheme. And apparently it's shot, that other looks like a bullet hole, so it depicts to me that someone shot a hole through the wall with this gun.
Sir, I'll show you what the marked state, or admitted to States Exhibit 76. And again, can you describe for us where that was located?
Yes, this is a file named DSCN0027.jpg. It does reside in the same logical path as the previous picture displayed. It was taken with the same camera on May the 30th, 2009, which is the same date, at 11:38. So it was taken a couple of minutes after the one we just viewed.
With the same camera?
With the same camera, correct.
I'll pass it.
Mr. Rector, I'm Russ Hunt, and so, as I understand it, you found these 4 photographs that were depicting either the gun or the gunshot. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And these are not just representative pics of the gun or the gunshot. These are the only pics on the photograph, on the computer of the gun or that gunshot. Is that correct?
Say that again?
What I'm saying, what I'm asking is, there weren't, 4 dozen photographs showing off the gun, and these are just the representative photographs. These are the only photographs. Is that correct?
As far as I'm aware of, yes.
And you're aware because you did a search of the computer and you looked at all the contents of the computer, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you were looking at photographs to see if there was something like this that might be incriminating, is that correct?
That's correct.
Because you're doing a forensic evaluation to determine if there's anything that might be relevant and important, correct?
That's correct.
And so the first two photographs we saw were of the person's arm holding the firearm. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And both of those were taken on the same day, back in 2009, March 26th of 2009, according to the camera that was used. Is that right?
The first two?
First two.
March 26, 2000. Yeah, that's correct.
You had testified as to the date May 26, 2011 as a creation date, but that's not when the photograph was actually taken. Is that correct?
Yeah, the date they were taken is what's in the XF data, which is the 3/26/09.
What kind of data did you use?
It's called XF.
XF data?
EXIF.
Okay.
Yes.
And that is something that's recorded in the file itself by the camera, is that correct?
Yeah, this header information, most of your cameras will store the make, model, the date it was taken, with some other information about shutter settings and those kind of things.
And that date is fairly consistent with the date from the path listing on the computer, which indicates 2009, March 25th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the camera said it was March 26th. The computer says it was stored on March 25th. One of those days is most likely when it was stored. Is that correct?
Say that again?
Sure. The camera you testified,
Right.
the data, the XF data from the camera says March 26th. The computer file path indicates, that file was saved March 26th, 25th, the day before. Is that correct?
It's in a logical folder, 2009-03-25.
Right.
That's a user-created folder. Someone created that, or camera created that folder.
Are there computer programs that when you back up your photographs, like they automatically indicate a date based on perhaps when the photographs are downloaded or something like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So somebody entered in March 25th. That date is inconsistent with March 26th, which is what the camera says, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the folder that in the logical path, the
Right.
folder that's 2009-03-25?
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be a user-created folder.
Okay.
But it's not a path, it's a folder name.
All right.
It's not a date, it's a folder name. The date that the computer shows, which is MFT metadata, is May 26th of 2011.
Okay.
And all that is the date it was copied to a hard drive.
So the folder name you're saying is not part of the path?
The folder name is part of the path.
The next two photographs were both created on May 30th, 2009. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Within about 2 minutes from each other.
That's correct.
And again, the date in the user-created path name is May 18th, I believe you indicated, 2009?
Which ones are we talking about?
The folder name where those two photographs were located.
We're Exhibit 76 and
75 and 76.
75 and 76 are?
Yeah.
Okay, the folder in the folder name of the logical path is 2009-06-07.
0607.
Right.
So both of those.
That's correct.
And do I understand that both of those are, or all these photographs are under either Jenna Backup or Jenna Pics? Is that part of the file of the path?
Yeah, users, Daniel, BRA, documents, my backup, Jenna backup, pictures, and then this folder that appears to be named according to a date, 2009-06-07.
Okay. So it could be that the user was designated, these are cameras even from Jenna's camera or something along those lines.
And I don't know what it could mean. It's just that's the logical path they reside in.
Fair enough. Were there other photographs in those?
Yes, there were.
Or we'll pass the witness.